Yo, I just want to show you this survey site that I've been using for a bit now called Google Opinion Rewards. I made a little over 130 bucks from your lifetime earnings. Now, I really want to call this the best survey app that I've ever used and tried out of all the survey apps that I've tried. But it has one big downside that kind of prevents me from putting it on the top of my list for survey sites. But it also has a lot of the good qualities that you wish survey sites did with their surveys and also didn't have. And I'll go over both of these things as I go through the app. So let's get to my phone screen. Alright, really quick before I start, if anyone's curious on what Beermoney apps to continue to use or cash out from, I do have a monthly earnings page on my blog where I show what I cash out from for the whole month, every single month. I do plan to talk about this on my main channel, just been very lazy to upload on there recently. But I want to have like a dedicated video talking a little more about Beermoney and what I do with the Beermoney, like trading stocks, investing, and hopefully crypto in the future. Like I said, I've been very lazy to upload on there, but both of those will be linked in the description if anyone's curious. Let's get to the review. Should be a pretty short review, just because there's not too much to this app. Just to show you really quick at the very top, I've made a total of 138 bucks and 65 cents lifetime earnings, and at the bottom you can see all the surveys I've done and gotten paid for. You do get paid instantly for, when you complete the survey, you'll get paid for it. Now let's get to the main page. You'll see all your surveys under the My Tasks, and you see I have one right here. It'll be in like a blue box, and it says, new survey available. Now, the only way I know that you have a survey is through notifications. So make sure you have notifications on for this app. I'm just gonna throw a picture of what the notification looks like. It'll always say it shares to pay or it pays to share your opinion, or something along those lines. Now, you do have 24 hours to do the survey, and the 24 hours starts right when you get the notification. So let's say, today at like 2 p.m., you get a notification saying that you have a new survey. That means you have until tomorrow at 2 p.m. before the survey expires. And there's no way to redo the survey when it expires. So, you know, try to make uh try to make sure you do the surveys right when you get them, or you know, before the time limit ends. They are really fast. A lot of them are like either one question long or like 5 questions at most, or 6 questions. Some might have a little longer, but they are very fast to do. Takes a couple minutes, usually multiple choice, not too much typing in there. Um, the longer ones might require you to read a little more. Now, something that's really nice about these surveys compared to a lot of other survey sites is, for one, I don't think you can get disqualified from doing these surveys. And just because you can't get disqualified, I'm not saying that you should be dishonest with what you answer from, because they'll check, like, if you have too many inconsistencies, they might give you a lot less surveys, or then, like, they might shadow ban you in a way and, like, never give you any surveys. So, try to answer consistently, because you will always get paid the full price, because there's no disqualification. So, no reason to lie about your questions. Not saying that you should lie in any surveys or anything, because you usually get banned. Another thing that's really good about this is all these surveys are very tailor made to you. And the thing that's really important about this is a lot of surveys are kind of tailor made to you on a lot of other survey sites. But the problem is those same surveys can be seen and given to people who have very similar demographics to you. So, just an example. Let's say you get one survey and only 20 people will get paid from it. I don't know what the caps are, I'm just using it as an example. So let's say 40 people try doing the survey. So those first 20 people out of the 40 people will get paid for it. And the rest of the 20 will just get disqualified. You could be on your last question, or you can be finishing up the survey and you just get disqualified. You don't get paid anything. If the survey site's a little nice, they'll give you like a little minimum payment, which is usually a couple cents compared to like the full payment. It just sucks because you spend the whole time completing the survey, even though you would have probably gone qualified to get paid for the full amount. You get disqualified because you weren't fast enough doing the survey, because the other people finished and it filled up the survey for you. It's just super annoying. A lot of survey sites will say not to rush surveys. Probably a very common thing you hear. But this kind of just incentivizes you to rush the survey, just because, if too many people see the same survey, it can fill up, and then, if you're too slow doing the survey, you're just gonna get disqualified instantly. Just super annoying. Another nice thing about this is, since there's no disqualification rates on these surveys, there's no screening questions. And what a screening question is, it's basically just a regular question, or it looks like a regular question, but they want to have you select a certain answer, like, select agree or disagree or slightly disagree or select a certain number. And if you accidentally select the wrong number, you'll either get disqualified instantly from the survey, or if they're just really mean, they'll disqualify you at the end of the survey and they won't even tell you. You'll usually know when you get disqualified at the end of the survey when you don't get paid for it, like completing the survey at the end. And you can usually see in your search history or your, not your search history, your survey history when it says that you get disqualified. And that probably means that you probably selected an answer wrong for the screening questions. It's just super annoying because they kind of just disguise themselves to make sure that you're paying attention. It's understandable, but still. I might be forgetting a couple other benefits to these surveys compared to a lot of other survey sites, but if I am, it's on the blog. Now, the only really big downside to this survey site is it's very inconsistent on how many surveys you get. Like, you don't have a bountiful amount of surveys to pick from compared to like other survey sites like Survey Junkie or QMe and stuff. You usually will only get a survey when it tells you you get a survey. And that's really the only big downside that makes me not want to say that this is the best survey app, because like they do have a lot of the great qualities of what a survey app should have. You get a lot of 10-cent surveys that are literally one question long. And all the surveys are literally the same. They're the same template, but the only difference is they'll ask you about a different store. So when you get like a 10-cent survey or a really quick survey, all you have to do is just look at the store name and you already know what it's asking for, because it's literally the same question throughout most of these things. I'm not saying that you should rush this, I'm just saying it's the same template. Even the $1 surveys are really, really quick. A lot of the $1 surveys I get are literally like 5 questions long. They do require a little more reading, but same template. You already know what it's asking because, same template. Now, let's get to how you can kind of increase your ways of earning. The first way is having your location on. I don't know where you go to turn on your location on this app, but it should always just keep prompting you and like saying, hey, turn on your location for increasing your pay. The second way is doing your demographics. I think you do it in the survey eligibility right here somewhere, but if it's not here, it'll usually pop up and say, hey, fill these things out. In this like screen right here, it'll say, it'll just pop up with those windows for those. It just gives you more surveys because it knows what type of surveys it should give you. The second one is, since this app is made by Google, you do want to log in with your Google account onto your browsers. So, if you surf the web a lot, if you look things up a lot, make sure it's the same Google account that's logged into the survey site and the browser. And the reason for this is when you do a search, sometimes they'll give you a survey based off of that search, like a minute after you do the search. I've done it a lot of times. Usually they're a lot more paying. Like I said, usually the same structure and all that. So super quick to do. The last way is, or I guess the second last way is make sure it's the same account for your YouTube account as well. They'll sometimes like ask you questions about like a most recent video that you watched as well. This just helps them collect more data, and as long as you have the same Google account logged into your browser and your YouTube account, it'll increase your chances of getting more surveys just because they'll give you a survey based off of the video you watched recently or a search that you did recently. And the last way is having your search history on. They do scour your search history just because it's, Google. And they'll give you surveys based off of that as well, just to help you. Like, these should be all the ways that you can increase your earnings. I might be forgetting one. Like I said, if I'm forgetting anything, all on the blog. Or at least I'll update the blog when I can. Now, there's not too much else to this app, so I'll get onto the Cashout options. Now, I did mention that this app is on the Google Play Store and the iOS. So the unfortunate thing is, if you're on the Google Play Store if you're on like an Android device, you only get paid for the Google Play balance. I personally don't really spend my Google Play balance. So what I usually do with my balance, you see I have $14.57. What I usually do with this is I spend it on Beermoney games.
If you do beer money games a lot, it's very nice to have because there's going to be like tasks that say like, oh, buy the battle pass for like $5.99. And all these surveys are pretty much just free money. So that's what I usually spend my Google Play money with, is buying the tasks for certain games that I need to like finish to get paid more for the game. If you're on iOS, you do have the option. I think your only option is the PayPal, which is the nice thing. I personally would prefer PayPal. I can't confirm, but whether you're on iOS or Android, they are instant pay. Right when you finish the survey, it should pay you instantly, if not within a couple minutes. Just gonna go back to my reward history to show you the payment proof because I don't have pay like I'm on an Android device, so I only get paid for the Google Play. But you can see all these surveys that I've gotten paid for, just to show you it's legit. Like I said, this app is also made by Google, so there is that legitimacy to that as well. There's not too much else to talk about for this app, like I said. So I'm just gonna close it with some closing thoughts. Um, this I still hesitate to call this the best survey app. Like it has all the good qualities of what a survey app should have. There's no disqualification rates, there's no screening questions. The questions are super quick to do. Pretty high paying surveys. Like they're not the highest paying surveys that I've done, but for like one question, like 1 to 5 questions, getting paid like 10 cents for one question and like $1 for 5 questions that you can complete in like a couple minutes. I mean, that's way less effort than any survey app just because you don't have to worry about getting disqualified for it. Uh, the only downsides I would say is it's very inconsistent on how many surveys that you'll get because, sometimes I'll do like 100 searches or something and then I'll finally get a survey for it. Like I'm not saying that I randomly search things, but just to like try to farm surveys, but you know, just just saying. The other thing that's kind of annoying about this is if you have an Android device, you only can cash out to Google Play. If you do use your Google Play, that's nice. If you also do other beer money, especially like the beer money games that require you to do purchases, this is a great app to kind of fund and do those purchases rather than using your own money. Since, if you have nothing else to spend this on, you might as well spend it on the beer money games to make more money. Uh, the next downside is, I guess those are all the downsides actually. But I mean, I would personally recommend this app just because it's a nice app to have, just because the surveys are super quick to do. They are pretty high paying. There's no disqualification rate, so you don't really have to worry about paying attention to too much. Like I said, I'm not saying that you should rush or be dishonest or anything, but it is a very nice app. I just wish it gave you a lot more surveys every day, or there was some consistency on like how many surveys it gave you every day or every week at least. I would like to see a lot more ways to earn on here, but I really doubt that they're going to add any more ways to earn, like games or watching ads for money. So, apart from everything else, I'd probably recommend it, like I said. It's not too much else to talk about this app, so I'm going to get back to watching One Piece. Take care.